Revolutionary greetings, my name is Aisha Kasim and welcome to the special edition of the EFF Podcast where we take a look at life in some of the most dangerous communities on the Cape Flats. It is here where both young and old are held hostage due to drug and gang activity. It is here where mothers and fathers are seen mourning at crime scenes, where children as young as 8 months old have been killed due to gang violence.
The DA never came out to help us, even the police. In Mitchell's Place, you keep a statement, then they ask you to tell them what happened, but they never do something about it. My husband's case, the kid was sentenced, but my son is now died 2014. Nothing happened. My grandson, nothing happened. But when my children grow up and they become in their 20s, as was no more say, because then different kind of peoples move in this area. Drug houses was open. Our children was introduced to the drugs, and my son was killed on the 6th of October. I can't say if it's gangsterism or anything, but he was robbed with his phone, his techies, his wallet, and he was killed in Pontyville. He's not a gangster, so there was no gangsterism involved. It was a robbing case. The trial is still going on. And like I said, I'm raising my grandchildren today, and it's not say 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, we must call them in. Because later than 6 o'clock, we don't want them out on the blood or in the park, whatever. Because it's not safe for them, because they don't care, the gangsters don't care what time of day it is. If they want to shoot, they just want to shoot. They don't respect us as the community. We are living in fear every day. We're living in fear. Not for myself, but for our kids. Like I said, your kids is my kids is your kids. We're living in fear for them. Because like it's going on in this community, I don't see a future for my grandchildren or for anybody else's grandchildren in this area we are staying in. The way it goes with the gangsterism and the drugs, and they can get so quickly manipulated by the drug dealers and so on. And that is not on by me. I'm still in mourn and grieving every day. Because like I said, I always ask Allah to forgive me for what I'm thinking, for what I'm saying. Because I accept He's dead, but not the way He went. Because why gangsters must fall, like with a bullet or whatever, but not people that isn't. Like a lot of innocent people die by the gun. And I mean, that's not on. And the other thing is this, I will never be okay again. Because they say it's okay not to be okay. I will never be a whole person again, because a part of my heart was up. That day when I got the news, he was killed. So I live today with a 3/4 of a heart. That heart, my heart will never be whole again. I'll say as the DA, hulle doen all niks vir ons. Alleen maar vir alle mense. Hoe sê hulle? Mandela! And I thank you!
And the gangsterism drug houses has been taking over everywhere.
Even though we all thought that the PA to present the colored people here in Mitchell's Plain haven't even come out to assist the people, to assist the community in the help, but the EFF has stepped up. The DA and the ANC didn't even come together to sort out the problem, but the EFF has done something for the community. There's a drug house in our street. My son, I have 2 kids, but my son have a future. But the way we are living here, I don't think we will have a future for long. But I believe with the EFF stepping in, we will have this community right.
Reach out to communities that are in distress. We communities here are being terrorized by gangsters and the drug merchants that are operating in the streets. And whenever there's a call, we come into the community to assist them and to make them aware what they should do and what they can. And if they ask for us to to support them in their marches, then we are there. We also work with the EFF, especially in the Mitchell's Plain area when it is needed. We work hand in hand with the EFF to make sure that we make people aware of gangsterism and drugs in this area, and we try to fight the scourge of gangsterism and drugs. And we must understand that gangsters are terrorists. They terrorize our communities, and at all times our communities are being victimized by these terrorists. And therefore we call on the communities to stand together, and the communities must stand together and fight the scourge of gangsterism and drugs. I think the EFF has a record. I mean, we have seen EFF as a record in working in the communities, and I think when it's the EFF that's involved, I think something can come out of that, and we're positive about that, because working with the EFF, with the experience with the EFF, I think that is the route to go, and get support from the EFF, because it's a party that has always been in the forefront to fight the plights of the poor and the disadvantaged. It is sad that these people, they call themselves colored, and the NCC and the PA and the DA, for instance, they have no will, and I don't think they have the communities at heart, because they can see what's happening on the Cape Flats, but they are never to be seen. They are to be seen everywhere besides where they are needed by the communities. Well, I think being positive of the ad hoc committee that has been formed, I think I think when people understand what is happening on the ground, then those are the people that we can trust, and I think we can trust that the ad hoc committee will see to it that there's going to be implementation of for instance, the police force on the ground and working to destabilize, working to stabilize the situation as it is now. In fact, a person must say that it has become ungovernable, and all these parties and all these forces that are there have not stabilized the situation in the Cape Flats. And I think with the EFF maybe that thing, and I'm positive that can happen, where the EFF will take the bull by its horns, as you can say, and see that the situation, there's a change in the situation where crime is concerned on the Cape Flats.
Yeah.
As a PAGAD force, we call on all the communities, wherever they are, to join the PAGAD force and the EFF in this fight against the gangsterism and drugs that we are faced with. Yes, we know that the EFF is busy tackling in all the committees regarding corruption. But we also know that the police are colluding, and there's a lot of corruption. For instance, the issue that at Athlone, where the policeman is supposed to be suspended and is still around. And this is a fight, and we hear at the Malanga Commission also how deep-rooted the corruption is in the police force, and that must be rooted out as soon as possible.
I'm 67 years old, and I'm living for the past 40 years here in Mitchell's Plain. And I got 4 kids, and I got 13 grandchildren and 14 great-grandchildren. And I am also raising children from the streets that I raised here inside this house. This was also a gangster's house, and we bought it. We struggled to fix this house, and I also lost my baby son. He was 37 years old. They shot him here in Mitchell's Plain, and they shot my elder son. He's sitting for 9 years now in a wheelchair. And we struggle to eat and drink here in this house. We're only a few minutes millionaire on pension day. And the EFF is the only people who did come inside to help us and to fight the gangsterism and the drug dealers. My one grandchild also dropped out of school at grade 8. He's scared to go to school because of the gangsterism. He's scared and he don't want to go elsewhere because there's also gangsters in the other side. My eldest son was shot. He's sitting now for 9 years in a wheelchair. Accordingly, my youngest son, who did join the gangsterism because he didn't want to be a gangster, but he did join because we don't have food in the house. I don't have money to buy them name brand clothes and so on. And so he did join the gangsters, and they shot him dead. And he's now passed for 3 years, passed away. This is the main room. This is my room. I sleep here with my 3 grandchildren, so the kids that I took to look after, and I let them grow up for 10 years now. So we sleep on one bed in this room. We can't make a window because you can see here, no windows in. We did put walls here, bricks here in to cover for us. We're scared of the shooting. So the bricks is all here in. I am looking after all my grandchildren because my second daughter, she's on drugs. She is now 45 years old. My eldest son was also on drugs. He is shot, he's sitting in a wheelchair. And then my baby son was shot dead according to gangsterism and the drug dealers here in Mitchell's Plain. And it's not nice to grow up for my great-grandchildren to grow up like that, and they must be scared to go to school. And I'm the only person who must feed them, and where must I get the money to feed all of them with just my pension? And they all pay. That's all I get in for the month. I'm scared for what's going to happen about the kids that I take inside here, and what is going to happen if the government is standing in to help me with those kids, because what's going to happen there? And I'm the only person looking after them, to feed them. What's going to happen there? And I did call out for the EFF to come and help us. That's why I did join the EFF. I am in the EFF now for 8 years, in the EFF. And we did march with EFF and the PAGAD to walk to all the gangsterism, knock on the doors, they must shut down.
Due to gangsterism, the gangsters is standing by the school, taking our children to become gangsters. They want to put tattoos on our children, which is not right. The children is dropping out. And our children love to go to school, but due to that, they can't go to school. Here at Mitchell's Plain Police Station, nothing is going right, because if the people is coming to police station making cases, nothing come after cases. All the dockets going missing. Even at Athlone, there's one person who was suspended, but is still there at Athlone Police Station, which is not right. This is our communities, our children, and we are fighting for our children. The EFF is the only organization who is with the communities here in Mitchell's Plain, in Athlone, in other communities as well. In Philippi as well, we are also there. And even the EFF is the only organization who coming out when the people say they're hungry. They're coming to us, we assist them. The EFF is the only organization who's coming out in our communities when dishing out parcels for the people. Even when the people say they're hungry, they're coming with big pots, 100 liters of pots of food, and dishing it out in our communities. Only one phone call, then the EFF is here for us. Only one phone call, then the EFF is here. No matter where it is and the people is struggling, always the EFF is there for whoever. There's 5 children now that we recruit to get back into school. 3 is in now, we're still struggling with 2. They're adults already, but they want to go to school. They're 12 and 13 years old. There's also adults who want to go back to school. They dropped out of school because of gangsterism. Because the gangsters is standing but there by the schools, want to recruit gangsters, and the EFF don't allow that. We don't allow that. So we're trying our best to put that adults as well back to school. There's girls who have babies already from gangsters. They still want to go back to school. So we tried our best to put them back to school.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our sustainer, our nourisher, peace and blessings on our leader and master Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. My name is Harun Ori. I'm currently the national coordinator of PAGAD, People Against Gangsterism and Drugs, better known as people who know us in the community as PAGAD. The PAGAD movement has started in the 90s, late 90s. We are in existence for about 30 years already. A great milestone for us. Many people might not think that haven't achieved anything. But I think if we look at the history of PAGAD, our members have been incarcerated, we've been on trial, some been sentenced, some been not sentenced and been freed from their cases over the past years. And we currently still have one member in prison. PAGAD itself has a great history in this country. I think just after the elections in 1995, PAGAD rose to 1996, 97, PAGAD was established. And, we felt it necessary then, and at least those that formulated the PAGAD movement felt it necessary because then already we saw the problems in communities when drugs was manufactured in labs in this particular country that we're speaking of, Cape Town itself, more specific. But today we see the devastating effects of drugs and gangsterism in our communities. And that's basically where we are today after 30 years. I think if we look at 1998, 1999, if we can just go back, the PAGAD movement made a great and significant impact in crime in this country. I think government statistics said crime had dropped by 70% by 1998 in this particular country. It's more specific in the Western Cape. And these are government statistics. However, after 99, they started incarcerating us. And this is obviously when things took a different turn. And media's portraying PAGAD as being a vigilante group, and obviously later on branding us as a terrorist organization. And we maintain our fundamental principles, and we say that we have been established to eradicate gangsterism and drugs from our community. And that is our core objective, nothing else. Our history speaks for itself. We haven't enriched ourselves. We haven't gotten paid for anything that we're doing. Every single member in this organization has been doing what they've been doing for the past 30 years out of their own free will. And fortunately, we had challenges within this community where PAGAD itself had to expel members from this organization. And that's part of our history, because unfortunately in every organization you find corrupt ones. Within the ANC, there was challenges in every organization. And our specific organization, we had to expel members because they were extorting money from drug dealers and gangsters. They were befriending drug dealers and gangsters, and that went against our key principle and our core principle of what we stand for. We've met with many people in this country. I think we've virtually been to every province, to every community in this country. And the moment PAGAD gains momentum in communities, the moment PAGAD rises up, and the moment the community rises up, we find that national intelligence steps in. They start threatening communities. And, the sad reality is crime is still carrying on. Gangsters are still thriving. Drug dealers are still enriching themselves through the blood of the innocent people in this community. And we have to say this very clearly. Unfortunately, we see the commissions that is happening, the Madlanga Commission at the moment. We see the corruption being exposed. The problem that we have is how much of that corruption will be prosecuted. How many of the high-ranking officials within government, ministers, deputy ministers, intelligent informants and intelligence themselves that's been exposed in this commission, how many of them will really be going to trial? And if that's not going to happen in this country, we're going to see this problem pursuing for the next 30 years. And we have to deal with the rot and the rotten apples within the government itself. And that's where the problem stems from. And if we look at the history in this country, 1999, 2000, I think Thabo Mbeki was president that particular time. And the courts were instructed then by government to prosecute PAGAD members with or without evidence. Today we see the very same thing happening. When community rises up, communities get arrested, communities get tear gas, communities get rubber bullets. But the perpetrators out there are still roaming the streets. How serious is our government in terms of eradicating gangsterism and drugs? It's easy for someone to say, you know what, look at stats. We've used this example the other day and we said, hypothetically, we had 500 murders for the month. Next month, we've got 480 murders. That doesn't say anything. That's not even minimizing crime. The fact that there is still a statistics of numbers of people being killed in this country, we have a serious problem in this country. And if people in our communities don't rise up and stand firm against drug dealers and gangsters, and in actual fact, everyone that supports them in the legal fraternity, business people, politicians, whoever supports drug dealers and gangsters, it's time for this country and its people to rise up and take them on as they've never been taken on before. Yeah, I think what's important, the moment there's an ad hoc committee, we need to understand there needs to be an accountability. And when there's accountability, we're going to move somewhere. But if there's no accountability and that ad hoc committee is just accountable to the very masters and the puppets that's controlling the drug trade and the crime, then we're going to go nowhere with that ad hoc committee. And therefore we believe that if there's an ad hoc committee, there needs to be an external, independent organization or people's movement that will oversee that ad hoc committee if we want success to come from that. Otherwise, we're going to have a repetition of what we're seeing and what we've seen in the country, where ex-presidents are going to be exempted from crime that they've committed in this country. I think, to be honest, at this point in time, the country and its people will take anything that comes. Any help that comes their way, they will grapple onto it. The reality of the deployment of the army is something else. Are they really equipped to stabilize the country? Obviously, they can't eradicate the problem. But are they equipped enough in terms of what they need to know, how to manage crime, or more so, how to eradicate crime in this country? They're not familiar with the territory of gangsterism and drugs. This is a reality. They were deployed, I think the army was deployed in the COVID. It was clear they weren't equipped to deal with humans. They treated civilians on the street like criminals. This is what happened. And when we raised the concern then to say, but why are we not using these resources to combat drug dealers and gangsters and crime in this country, it was said it's not necessary. Now we see that the president has asked for the immediate deployment of the South African National Defence Force. Once again, accountability. Who do they account to? And what are they going to be accountable for? And how far can their hand extend in terms of combating? So we find that we hope and we pray that the deployment of the army will bring some relief to our communities and there is accountability. If there's no accountability, we can forget about the army working and the police and the SANDF being of any effect in this country. The other challenge that we find as organizations, as PAGAD, fighting gangsterism and drugs, is that the corrupt officers within police stations. After investigating that, or after a certain period of time, we find that police officers, after being relieved from their duties, they're still active within the police force. They're still active at the police stations. We ask, how can we combat the problem? Because the purpose of the police station, and the sad part is, it just became a service to the community. And the service that they render is not the necessary service that is required by our communities, and that is to fight gangsterism and drugs. We as PAGAD have personally seen that the police are incapable of dealing in a crime-infested area. They will rather close off the area and they will call it a hotspot, but they won't dare going into that particular area. And we've put this to the test when we tried to march in particular areas in Mitchell's Plain. They said we're not allowed. And we said, but we have the right to be in that area. They didn't want to go in that area. But because of the corrupt police officers within our Mitchell's Plain area at that particular time and the police stations, it was very difficult as an organization, as PAGAD, to work freely in our communities. But I think the problem isn't just with the corrupt police officers. The problem is our intelligence and the corrupt officers within police intelligence. That is the bigger problem, because our gang leaders and drug dealers have access to those people. If you look at the Kenya case, that in itself is a true example of how deep and how corrupt the system is. They could not protect one of their own. And because of their own leaking information and giving a tip of as to where to find this particular incident, it's very sad that you cannot trust your own people within the police, and they cannot trust their own people within the intelligence services in the country. And it's time that we need to reshuffle and relook at that whole system, and it needs to change with immediate effect. We haven't seen the implementation of the Premier's plan of action to fight crime on the Cape Flats. We've seen it happening in other areas, and that is the more affluent areas, sadly so. But our people in Mitchell's Plain, in Hanover Park, in Manenberg, in all these underprivileged areas, unfortunately we say it with a sad heart. We don't say it because they are underprivileged. Due to the system creating this evil, they have now become underprivileged. Not that they want to be underprivileged. They're not deploying the necessary strategic deployments in these areas as they've promised our people in this community. We have said to JP Smith about 5 years ago, we've extended our hand to his office. We met with them. They were willing to meet with us. But after that meeting, we've heard nothing from them. We said we are prepared to work on the streets with your law enforcement officers, with SAPS, We will go as civilians as an oversight to see that crime is really being fought on the Cape Flats. They refuse to work with us. Until today, they still refuse to work with us. However, we as PAGAD, People Against Gangsterism, are saying that we extend our hand to every institution in this country that is serious about eradicating gangsterism and drugs in our communities. If you're not serious, then we won't sit at the table. If you're serious to making a change in our communities, and this doesn't go to end to our security institutions in this country. This goes to every media house in this country, every other school, organization, sports clubs, whoever you are. If you are serious in eradicating gangsterism and drugs, then we need to sit at one table and start talking.
Also, we are running a crash here in Likam for Christian Education Center. We also on Saturdays working with children doing children ministry, because we are trying to help the children in the community. Those who don't, in this area there are no parks for children to play, and they play with dangerous stuff, and they end up at the shebeens, because that's the only way that they can be happy. Then we are trying to get them out of the community so that they can keep them busy. Since there are no parks, then they roam around, and sometimes you see them playing closer to the toilets, the open toilets, which are the bucket system toilets. There are no roads, there are no lights here, and people here, then they try to get money because there are no jobs. Then they try to get money by extorting people, getting money from people, and robbing people. And that's the problem that we are facing in this area. Even the killing that will happen here, it is alleged that it is because of the extortion that is happening. You know, the problem that with the government, they discuss things there in the parliament, and you hear about that on the news, but when it comes to the reality, you don't see them. I've never seen anybody coming so that, no, we're here to investigate what is happening to the area. We're here to protect the people in the area. No. Yes, they talk about that. They talk about that in the parliament, and we heard that about the news, but nothing in the ground that is happening. It's difficult now to say that they are colluding with them, but yes, they are. The problem is that our police, I don't know what's happening, because once there is a drug, people working in that area, and you find that those people will work with some police there. If they decide to come and investigate that area or come to raid that area, somebody from the police is going to tip those people that, no, be careful that we are coming there. That's a problem that's happening. Even on the extortion, we find out there are some police who are part of that, what is happening. Even in the government, the people who are getting a lot of money from the government, but still they are involved on this thing, at the cause of the problem. Because now, if somebody get a tender, maybe that is discussed in the government, that they will get a tender to work in that area. You are going to get so much. There's so many millions to work there. Few days, then the gangsters, the people who are doing the extortion, will know that this so and so has got a tender of so much. Then they will go say that, give us maybe 30,000 a month from that tender they got. How did they know how much did they get? How much tender did they get? Somebody from the government have tipped those people so that it can go there. This person has got so much. Then you give me this amount of share. Unfortunately, the police that we have here in Lower, I've worked with them, and there was a time that there was a robbery here in the church, because there was going to be a memorial service of an ANC member, and they brought their staff, their system here, the speakers in the church. Then at night, there was a shooting here, because they came inside. There was a pastor was living here. That pastor, they wanted to shoot the pastor, but they wanted the flat screens. I think that there were flat screens were here. I was at home, then I phoned the police, said, please go, there is a robbery in my church in Marikana. Then somebody said that we brought a lot of trucks, a lot of vans there, there's going to be ambushed, you can't go inside there. They didn't come. There was only one van that passed, and it didn't stop, just passed by. And they saw that there was a van. They didn't assist.
Ndiniminyaka 14 ndihlala apha eMarikana. Apha eMarikana sijongene nobundlobongela obuninzi. and ubundlobongela obenzekayo apha. Abantwana bethu bayadutyulwa, kunzima uya esikolweni, abantwana bethu bayarojwa, akho zilayiti, kubi nje eMarikana akho nto intle. Abantwana bethu bayatshona emadamini, akho ncedo silufumanayo, akho nto siyifumanayo. Umzekelo ngawo ugqitywa udutyulwa abantu because kumnyama eMarikana akho zilayiti. Yes, siyazama ucela uncedo kwiindawo zonke efanele uba sincedakala kulo but uncedo asilufumani. Umzekelo ngoku kudutyulwe abantu, akho ncedo silufumanayo. Abantu bayasokola bayozingcwabela abantu abebeswelekelwe ngabantu. Aba bantu bebeyi-9 bebeswelekile, kunyanzeleke abahlali babethe imali bahambe bayozingcwabela because urhulumente akho nto asenzele yona. Only ungcwabe abantu ababini ngoba esithi ungcwaba abantu abazangcwatyelwe eKapa, abangcwatyelwe e-Eastern Cape akasisebenzeli thina sikukuhlala. Akukho nto siyifumanayo. Umzekelo ngoku asinazindlela, kuzawudama amanzi apha, abantwana bethu bayatshona emanzini, akho ncedo silufumanayo. So andiyazi uba yeyiphi into esinoyenza ukuze sincedakale. It is not comfortable to stay in Marikana because it's dark. There is no light, there is nothing. As a community leaders, we are suffering. Because each and every day we're supposed to go, there is someone's dead there because there is no light. Akho nto sinoyenza because siyi-community leaders asinazo izinto zothi thina singazikhusela ukwenzela uba sincedisane nabantwana. Siyabayeka abantwana, siyazama ke uya kwiindawo eziphezulu sicela into yoba sicela uncedwa, kuncedwa abantwana bethu because nyhani abantwana abafundi because of imeko yaseMarikana. Batya ii-drugs, bayatshaya, yonke into yenziwe eMarikana. Asinayo indlela esinobanceda ngayo because as uba ustepa out usithi uzama ukunceda, mhlawumbi ngomso ukheni uluze ubomi bakho. So akho nto sikwazi uyenza. There is nothing we can do. There is nothing we can do. We just try whatever we can try, but it's not happening, nothing to help us. So akho nto sincedakala ngayo, akho nto basinceda ngayo thina. Into abasinceda ngayo into yoba ngabana sibabize xa kuthiwa sithi ababenzele umsebenzi. Njengoba bengamapolisa siyi-community leaders, sithi ababenzele umsebenzi ngoba kuthi xa kudutyulwa umntu sibabize mabeze bazobona uba kwenzeke into ethile. Bona abanayo into yoba ngabana bazokhangela kule ndawo kwenzeka ngayo izinto uba namhlanje sizohamba apha sijonge. No, they don't not do that.
If umasipala uyafuna uzisa ii-services kule community angazizisa because ii-leaders ze-community apha ziyakwazi uthetha nabantu bakwazi ugada ii-services zikamasipala zizi. Because apha akho toilets, akho manzi, and ngoku kuzawunetha imvula, ii-floods abantu baseMarikana ezizawudlala ngabo. Only indawo ethanda uba i-assista only nguGold. Only Gold supermarket assist the community of Marikana. No government assist the community. Even last election, the community of Marikana take decision that he don't want to vote. He closed all the VDs. And then government take action on that time. After that, no more. No official of government come to this area to talk to the leaders of the community or the people of the community. I-officials ka-government zibuya umva because zifuna uba ngaba kufeyile i-EFF. Ilibale ngabantu abavotela bona uba ngaba banida uncedo. Sivile kwisona upresident upromise ngokuthi uzawudeploya amajoni. I don't think izawuncedisa into yamajoni. Ayizuncedisa ngeli hlobo loba i-temporary leya. If ungathathwa laa mali leya izawuspendwa kula majoni, kongezwe amapolisa, kuqashwe amapolisa, kunabantu abawilling uvolontiya to i-crime. But abantu uthi umntu evolontiya kuba nzima noba kube ne-stipends soba akwazi uthenga into zohlamba. But ngoku kuzawuziswa amajoni, kuzawufakwa imali phaa kula majoni. Ogqiba azawuhlala nje maybe 3 months or 6 months emva koko ahambe njengaba begqitywa voto. After elections bekudeploya amapolisa yonke indawo apha. But loo mapolisa lawo kangalaste even 6 months sabona singawaboni. Bona bewenzile umohluko la xeshanyana bekhona, kodwa after oko khange uphinde amapolisa ayashota yonke indawo. Nalena yamajoni upresident wenzela nje imedia. Into ezininzi kapha kwi-community zethu sizive eTVini, but ukuthi zize on the ground azizi. Abantwana bemetriki ngabona bapase kakhulu kulo nyaka, but ihafu yabo ihlele elokishini, ayinasikolo because ugovernment akukho izikolo. Izikolo ezikhoyo, iiyunivesithi ezikhoyo zeze ixesha le-apartheid, iiyunivesithi ezazenzelwe abantu abafew. Ngoku abantu bekuvuya kuselebhreyithwa abantwana baqhube kakuhle esikolweni, but abo bantwana baqhube kakuhle esikolweni sihleli nabo ezindlini. Emva koko baza kwenzani? Bazawujoyina ikhaya. Kuba umntu apha kwezi lokishi zethu ofumaniseka endlini bahlala abantu beyi-10, but umntu osebenzayo uyi-1. Lo mntu usebenzayo uyi-1 isalari yakhe ayifiki even ku-10,000. If ininzi bayi-7,000, ungenzani nge-7,000 kwiifemeli eziyi-10?
Protection. That is why they joined the gangs here. And I don't think that is something cool because, like I said, yeah, but our sub-council, I don't know what's happening here because every time the same people is working, every time they get the same people work. But there are people here like us who are waiting like in 4 or 5 years, but others get jobs and that's why they choose to join gangs. This morning we did comparison. I had a friend of mine also who also recently just joined a gang, so they shot him in front of his house. That was now the 4th of February. He's turning 35 now next month. And it's not worth it, man. The way I see it, it's not worth it to become a gangster because there's nothing in it for you, man. Like usually before we can stand late night in the corners, but nowadays no. The way the shooting goes and that. Because they did now, last month they robbed me also. But luckily my family is working for the police, so I get my stuff back. But I made a case because why must they rob me? I ain't a gangster. I don't bother them.
You mentioned that you lost your eye due to a robbery.
Yeah, they wanted to rob me. They wanted to take my friend's car. So I refused to. So the one was with a gun and the other one with a knife. So my money fall out of my pocket. And the time I pick it up and I look up, so the one hit me with the back of the gun. So it burst my eyeball. So I had to remove my eye.
So living in Athlone, residents of Athlone are terrorized by gangsters all the time?
Most of the time.
How many family members, if you ever lost any family members, were lost due to drugs and gang violence?
I lost 2 cousins of mine. One was, I think he was turning 21 or 20, and the other one was my age, 42.
And then lastly, what is your hope to this community?
So job creation, I think that is the huge issue here, and I think that will make a whole difference. They create more jobs for us because we don't work and we don't have time to go steal and all that. But what must we do with the children, the young ones? They join gangs because they get everything, drugs, everything they get.
Like
The whole council is a DA councillor, and whenever we go there, they just say you must update every time your name and whatever, but it's useless because I don't see what is actually the point of updating there every time. Because they don't phone you, nothing happen, only the same people that work.
There's a lot of drug houses in our communities. So the EFF in the PAGAD and the G-Force were the only ones who was working with us. We walk the whole Mitchell's Plain. There's many houses here in Mitchell's Plain that we shut down, the drug houses. So we're not didn't quit yet. We're still busy. We're not gonna quit because this is our children, our community. We're not gonna leave stuff like that. They're recruiting our children. The mummies sitting with the babies, very small. They don't care. They're doing drugs, and that is not right. It's not fair to the children.
So in conclusion, we would like to say and extend our hand to every community. I mean, we are inundated through our social medias of people that want help. We've received help in the Northern Cape, the Eastern Cape, in every province in this country, people is contacting our office. We are grateful and we will try and extend our hand to everyone in this country. We are asking our people to support this particular cause because it's not for ourselves, it's for the betterment of the future of this country, our children and their children. We are currently, after 30 years, we are grateful that we have our own space. We've got our own offices at 106 Camberwell Road in Rossdale, Athlone. We welcome people to come out and see what we are doing. Our office is basically, they say 5 days a week. I think we're busy 7 days a week. We've got counseling sessions going, we've got workshop going, we've got empowerment programs going for communities, for our youth, for our elderly people. We've got many things happening, and we invite our communities to come out and see what we are doing at our offices and see what contribution they can make to make our society much better and much safer for our children. And more importantly, I think it's time that we need to get into our schools and start looking at what programs we need to put out in our schools. Primary schools have called us over and over again. Governing bodies are phoning us. There are tremendous problems with kids at the age of 8, 9, 10 years old in our primary schools. Coming to school with substances, coming to school with weapons that are not allowed, and teachers' hands are tied, they cannot do anything. So I think we need to put emphasis on our education system to see what we can do to eradicate gangsterism and drugs from our communities. We thank you for this opportunity, and we hope and we pray that the Almighty's help will come. In a sad note, we need to end that we lost a 9-month-old baby this morning due to gang violence in Bridgetown area. And this is the sad reality of the Cape Flats. We ask people to really look at this problem with a clear heart, with a clean mind, and let us work together with sincerity, with honesty, and keep the integrity of the people intact, and that we can eradicate gangsterism and drugs from our societies.
And lastly, more importantly, let's meet on election day at the ballot box to vote for the only political party, the Economic Freedom Fighters, who is the only party within our communities who are fighting and who continue to tackle drugs and gangsterism within our communities.